Welcome to the deep dive. You've shared your sources with us, and we're here to, well, pull out the most interesting bits, the important takeaways.
Think of it like getting the key points, but maybe with some surprising details you wouldn't expect.
Exactly. And today we're looking at excerpts you provided from a YouTube video. It's titled Buddha Episode 6, Fuel HHD from Modi Studios.
Right, it covers parts of the early life of Siddhartha Gautama.
Yeah, who later becomes the Buddha, of course.
Yeah.
So our plan is to explore his education, his upbringing, the kind of influences shown in these clips. It's less about a strict history lesson and more about understanding the character development.
Seeing what shaped him. Okay, so where do we want to start? There's quite a bit here.
Well, something that really jumped out was the sacrifice by Mahadevi, Siddhartha's stepmother. The video touches on her finding out she's pregnant right when Siddhartha is deep in his studies.
Ah, yes. That's a powerful moment. Her reaction, it's not just joy, is it? There's this concern.
Right. She worries that having her own child then might disrupt Siddhartha's focus, his development. There's this fear he might feel neglected and turn towards being a bairagi, an ascetic out of grief or something similar.
And her decision is just, wow. She decides to postpone having her own child until Siddhartha's education is complete. That's immense.
It really is. It's more than just timing. It's this huge personal sacrifice rooted in, well, wanting the absolute best for him, ensuring his path isn't disrupted.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes about the pressures, within that royal context. Yeah. Duty, lineage, the future king.
And King Shuddhadana, Siddhartha's father, he sees it too. He acknowledges her incredible love, saying it proves relationships aren't just blood, they're built on this deep affection and, well, sacrifice.
It really highlights that dynamic, doesn't it? And personal desires versus the demands of state, or family duty in this case. It makes you think about the kind of environment Siddhartha grew up in.
Definitely. So moving on from that, Siddhartha starts his formal education. The king is understandably very keen for him to meet the top gurus.
Right, after some initial training. And Guru Kandana's assessment is pretty impressive. He's looking at Siddhartha's grasp of the Vedas.
And it's not just rote learning, is it?
No, not at all. The video shows him understanding the meaning, the depth. They mention a specific verse, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, which is about, the completeness of the universe.
Okay.
But what's really striking is that Siddhartha isn't just absorbing it. He's asking questions, complex questions that actually challenge his teachers.
So he's already thinking critically, analytically.
Exactly. And there's that great example with Pratyaksh Satya and Paraksh Satya.
Direct truth and indirect truth. Can you unpack that a little? The river analogy.
Sure. So Pratyaksh Satya, direct truth, is what you see directly like seeing rainfall. Paraksh Satya, indirect truth, is inferring something you haven't seen directly based on evidence, like seeing a river rise and knowing it must have rained upstream in the mountains, even if you didn't see the rain itself.
Ah, I see. So he's demonstrating logic, cause and effect.
Precisely. It shows a mind that isn't just accepting things, but is reasoning, analyzing. It kind of foreshadows his later approach, seeking verifiable truth.
That makes sense. Then we get Guru Ashwapal's perspective. He sees a different side, or maybe additional sides, of Siddhartha.
Yeah, Ashwapal focuses more on the, let's say, practical and artistic skills. Incredible horse riding, for instance. Not just technique, but a real connection with the horse, understanding its signs.
A partnership.
Yes. And then there's music, dance, apparently very expressive communication skills, even using his eyes effectively. And significantly, martial arts, Astra-vidya.
So he's got this wide range of talents. It seems almost perfect, but then there's that point about weapons.
Right, that's the fascinating part. He's mastered the skills, the Astra-vidya, but he seems completely disinterested in actually using weapons for harm.
So he can, but he won't.
That's exactly how Ashwapal explains it. He has the capability, but chooses not to employ it aggressively. It hints strongly at an inherent compassion, an aversion to violence, even this early on.
Okay, that aversion becomes really relevant in the next major incident the clips cover. The conflict involving Devadatta.
Ah, yes, the hut incident. This is quite revealing. Devadatta burns down a hut.
And why? Because it was built with help from Channa, who the source identifies as belonging to an untouchable community.
Exactly. Devadatta's justification is all about protecting his guru from supposed sin or impurity because Channa was involved. It just lays bare the harsh social divisions and prejudices of the time.
But the guru's response is incredibly strong.
Oh, absolutely. He condemns Devadatta's act forcefully, and then he gives this powerful lesson on equality. He uses that analogy of Brahma's body.
Brahmins from the head, Kshatriyas from the shoulders, and so on.
Yes. To argue that all parts, all people are essential, you can't just discard or denigrate one group. He even makes a very practical point.
Which is?
Well, basically, what would happen if the Shudras, the laborers, the supposedly lowest group, just stopped doing their essential work? The whole system, including the elites, would grind to a halt.
It's a very pragmatic argument against discrimination, isn't it? Based on interdependence.
It is. And the guru doesn't stop there. He also calls out Ashwapal for showing bias among the students.
Right. Emphasizing impartiality for a teacher, it really sets a standard.
It does. And Siddhartha's reaction to all this is also telling. He explains his absence during some of this by saying he needed to step away to avoid getting angry at Jyeshta, likely connected to Devadatta, or the hut incident.
Wow, that level of self-awareness, recognizing anger and choosing to manage it.
Yeah, and he explicitly mentions wanting to meditate with the guru. It shows this pull towards introspection, towards finding inner calm, which is obviously a huge theme later.
It really sets him apart, doesn't it? Especially for a young prince. Okay, so then the focus shifts to this royal tournament.
The big test of skills for the princes of Kapilavastu. Classic trope, but with interesting undercurrents here.
Especially Mahadevi's anxiety. She seems really worried.
Palpably so. For her, it's not just about Siddhartha winning or losing. It's tied up with Siddhamini's prophecy about his future, the stability of the whole Shakya clan, and proving his Kshatriya credentials, his warrior abilities. She fears he won't seem princely enough in that martial sense.
And there seems to be some plotting going on, too. The focus is initially on Devadatta looking superior, especially with the sword.
Yeah, he's shown as very skilled. And there's that mention of someone named Gopal giving instructions to ensure Devadatta wins the first round. Adds a layer of political maneuvering.
Plus, Ashwapal seems invested in Devadatta winning for his own reputation as a teacher.
Definitely seems that way. Ambition is clearly a factor. And they introduce this element of masked competitors.
Supposedly to judge skill alone, remove any bias towards individuals.
Right, so we see Devadatta fighting aggressively against this masked opponent everyone assumes is Siddhartha. Looks like Devadatta is dominating.
And then surprise, Siddhartha is announced as the winner of round 1.
Big surprise. Then comes round 2, another competition. And Siddhartha does something unusual. He doesn't attack right away. He holds back.
Described as a war strategy, apparently. More strategic, less brute force.
It seems so. And again, despite appearances perhaps, Siddhartha is declared the winner of the second round too.
Which must have caused some confusion if he looked like he was losing in the red mask.
Exactly. How did he win? And that's when the truth comes out.
The mask swap.
Yes. Ashwapal has to explain that Siddhartha's mask strap broke, so he quickly swapped masks with Devadatta.
Ah, so the skilled fighter everyone thought was Devadatta was actually Siddhartha in Devadatta's mask.
Precisely. And the guru is not happy about this deception or Ashwapal's clear bias.
Understandably, he condemns it, right? Stresses again that all students should be equal.
Yes, a strong rebuke for Ashwapal. And he also gives Devadatta a warning about controlling his anger, which feels ominous, maybe, foreshadowing future issues.
It certainly adds to Devadatta's characterization. Okay, moving away from the tournament drama, there's this fascinating bit about Siddhartha's own discoveries, about the human body.
Yes, this is really interesting. He's observing things, noticing connections like how certain points on the body relate to internal states, similar to pulse diagnosis.
And then he figures something out.
He discovers that pressing specific points, pressure points, can actually cause unconsciousness. He even tests it on himself.
Whoa, okay. And his first thought is?
Not, how can I use this to defeat enemies, but how can this be used to subdue someone without violence? It's incredible, isn't it? Even in a context that includes martial training, his mind immediately goes to the compassionate application, the non-violent solution.
It really reinforces that core aspect of his character we saw earlier with the weapons, always seeking the path of least harm.
Exactly. And finally, there's that lovely connection made to his mother, Maya, and a specific tree.
The Maya tree, named after her sister.
Yes. His mother describes this tree almost like a family member, providing shade, life, birdsong-like music, just care.
It's beautiful imagery, and it's hard not to think of
The Bodhi tree.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where he eventually attains enlightenment. It feels like this subtle foreshadowing, linking his mother, nature, nurturing, and this place of future awakening. The tree as a source of life, wisdom, shelter.
a really nice thematic thread running through it. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Stepping back from this deep dive, what are the main things that really stand out to you from these glimpses into his early life?
Well, his intelligence is undeniable, isn't it? The analytical mind, the way he questioned the Vedas, explained complex ideas like truth. But alongside that, there's this deep inherent compassion.
Right, the aversion to violence, the pressure point discovery.
Exactly. And his questioning nature, his developing moral compass, shaped by, both the good examples like the Guru's teaching on equality and the negative ones like Devada's prejudice or Ashurpal's bias. Plus, the physical prowess is there, even if he's reluctant to use it aggressively.
Yeah, those aha moments stick with you. The direct and indirect truth explanation, the Guru's powerful lesson on social equality, the whole tournament deception, and then his insight about pressure points for nonviolent subduing.
They really paint a picture of a complex young man already grappling with big ideas and ethical dilemmas. It feels like these experiences are clearly laying the groundwork for his later philosophy.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. How do you think these specific early experiences, Mahadevi's sacrifice, the intellectual challenges, witnessing prejudice and integrity, mastering skills but rejecting violence, how might all these threads have woven together to shape the Buddha's eventual teachings and his path? What does this early look suggest about leadership, wisdom, and compassion, maybe even in our own lives?
Definitely something to ponder. These formative years seem incredibly rich with meaning.
They really do. Thanks for diving deep with us today.